Chapter 101, A Tongue Can Break Bones. Ignoring Samira, Zhang Tai turned around and asked Miss Chili, could you tell me whether the Temporary Supervision Committee represents the officials of Black Hot City within Wild Wolf Castle? And could you tell me whether the Temporary Supervision Committee is entitled to supervise and manage everything related to this survival training? Yes, as long as it is related to the students attending this survival training, the Temporary Supervision Committee will be responsible for the supervision and management. The Temporary Supervision Committee's power is recorded in Black Hot City, and it states that the Temporary Supervision Committee has the power to manage everything that happens here and that it has also been granted the authority related to law enforcement and judicial-related issues. Unless we receive an official notice from Black Hot City which details changes, then the rights and liabilities of the Temporary Supervision Committee will never change. Not knowing what Zhang Tai was planning, Miss Chili could only solemnly and faithfully answer him. Fine. Since I have proven that I am innocent and not a thief, I would like to officially file a lawsuit against the Samira Business Group with the help of the Temporary Supervision Committee. During this incident, the Samira Business Group had treated me as a thief and had even disturbed my survival training. They had chased after me in public and had even attacked me, which has damaged my reputation and even my bright future. Based on the fact that the laws of Black Hot City will protect its citizens, I request the Samira Business Group to, for this misunderstanding and my losses, compensate me. Zhang Tai righteously said. Bastard, are you still crazy about making money? This time, you got off easy, yet you still want compensation? Are you dreaming? Samira shouted out loudly. Because he had lost his purse, Samira had already felt as if his heart was bleeding, but at this moment, when Zhang Tai had even dared to ask for compensation, he felt as if a handsome amount of salt was thrown onto his wounded heart. Of course, I am not crazy. If what I have requested goes against Black Hot City laws, then please tell me, Boss Samira. If you can tell me, then I will definitely modestly correct it and eat my words. As if he was looking at a pile of gold coins, Zhang Tai looked at Samira with an obscene smile. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, Samira instantly became silent, as what Zhang Tai had said truly did not violate Black Hot City laws. Looking at the horny students outside the door, Zhang Tai shouted, I know Black Hot City is now facing an unprecedented crisis, under which even Black Hot City might be at the edge of death. However, in my eyes, the laws of Black Hot City are still sacred and its authority is without a doubt. Nevertheless, at this critical moment, someone had actually treated the laws and the authority of Black Hot City as bullshit. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, the horny students outside the door started to whisper to one another. Leet, using a weird voice, shouted among the crowd, is the Samira Business Group planning to stomp on the authority of Black Hot City? Is the Samira Business Group planning to go and seek refuge with its new owner? The students continued to whisper amongst themselves as Samira's face turned pale. Since there were so many people here right now, what would happen if this scandal were to spread to Black Hot City? That's nonsense. Since when did the Samira Business Group belittle the authority and laws of Black Hot City? Samira pointed at Zhang Tai and furiously cursed. Was I talking nonsense? Zhang Tai said with a smile as he suddenly turned solemn and pointed at the students outside the door. The other students all respect the laws and authority of Black Hot City and have taken the initiative to stand outside the room. You, Boss Samira, are not the plaintiff, the defendant, nor are you a member of the Temporary Supervision Committee in this investigation. Is an outsider allowed to sit within a temporary court, jumping here and there while muttering whatever you want and causing a disturbance in the Temporary Supervision Committee's investigation? Please tell me, you being here, aren't you trampling on the laws and authority of Black Hot City? Zhang Tai pointed and shouted at Samira as his magnificence directly forced Samira a couple of steps backwards. He had come in, sat down, and casually spoke during this investigation because he had Master Abayan as his backer. Like Zhang Tai had mentioned, compared to his master, he truly did not attach much worth to the Temporary Supervision Committee. In Samira's eyes, this was a trivial matter. He had never thought that Zhang Tai would find loopholes from such a trivial matter to give him trouble. During normal times, this matter could be laughed off, but Black Hot City is currently under threats from the Norman Empire. Someone could turn this affair into a bigger matter. No matter what, the Temporary Supervision Committee was an official facet of Black Hot City, while Samira was just a businessman with no official status. Thinking of some of the terrible consequences, Samira's face instantly turned pale as he was covered in cold sweat all over. In truth, Samira was just a small figure who knew clearly that the big figures would not mind giving him some benefits and face if he proved to be useful. However, if he had a poor reputation, then those big figures would prefer to stay away from him as far as possible. If he brought them trouble, they would definitely dig a pit and bury him, feeling no pity for him at all. Zhang Tai's words, like a sharp axe, directly chopped at Samira's weakness and the place he feared the most. Besides, do you know how arrogant you have been? The survival training for the students from Black Hot City is something that has always been officially protected and endorsed by Black Hot City. During the survival training, the students attending it will be managed in a semi-militarized manner and will comply with the Wartime Management Decree of Andaman Alliance. The entire Wild Wolf Valley is similar to a military camp. Despite this, the Samira business group had dared to ignore the laws and traditions of the Andaman Alliance. You had dared to trespass Wild Wolf Valley and casually tried to capture a student who was attending this survival training. Aren't you violating the laws and dignity of Black Hot City? Aren't you treating the wartime decree of the Andaman Alliance as bullshit? I have already begun to doubt whether or not you are a mole from the Norman Empire whose aim is to disturb this survival training by using the excuse of arresting me in an attempt to cause the confidence in Black Hot City and the Andaman Alliance to waver. Saying this, Zhang Tai heroically strode towards Samira, while the latter kept moving backwards with a forehead covered in sweat and a face that gradually turned pale. Although Samira opened his mouth, he wasn't able to say a single word. What Zhang Tai had argued was all true, leaving no loopholes for him to refute. Hearing Zhang Tai's argument, the horny students outside became increasingly noisy. Many of them had begun to curse at Samira with words like traitor and mole, which began to spread everywhere. Stimulated by the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood, the atmosphere gradually lost control. Earlier, the teachers from the Temporary Supervision Committee were forcing back their laughter, but upon hearing Zhang Tai's testimony, they realized that Zhang Tai had worsened the situation. Every one of them looked solemn. At this moment, Samira had already started to feel regret deep in his heart. Why did I mess with Zhang Tai? Earlier, Samira had already felt that Zhang Tai was similar to a poisonous snake, but now, he felt as if Zhang Tai's mouth, like the bloody mouth of a magical beast, could completely engulf him. You are talking nonsense. They chased you because you stole their purse? Samira made an emergency counterattack. Having lived so long, Samira was truly quick-witted. Based on the laws of Black Hot City, when one has found a person committing a crime, they have the right to stop the crime for the purpose of protecting one's interests. This right is even superior to the immunity conduct given to the members of the Parliament of the Andaman Alliance. That's why, your intention of setting me up has failed. Ha ha ha, Zhang Tai burst out into laughter. He had finally led Samira right into the trap he had set. You're right. The right to stop a crime when it happens is truly superior to the immunity given to the members of the Parliament of the Andaman Alliance. If I had truly stolen your purse, then this law could truly be applicable to me and the title of being a mole of the Norman Empire would not have fallen on your head, but the problem is, I did not steal your purse. Now that you have proven that you had not stolen the purse, then this could only mean that it was a misunderstanding and that you are innocent. But, this misunderstanding isn't something for you to slander me with, Samira said as he pretended to calm down. What if it's not a misunderstanding this time? What if it was you who wanted to slander me? What if you were trying to stir up trouble during this survival training by slandering me, aiming to weaken the authority of Black Hot City among this group of thousands of students, who will be soldiers of Black Hot City in the future, and make us disappointed about Black Hot City? If it's like that, then do you dare to still say that you are not a mole from the Norman Empire? Do you still dare to say that you are not a traitor who's trying to destroy Black Hot City? When Zhang Tai said these words, not only did the expression on Samira's face change, but even the faces of the Samira business group bodyguards and the teachers from the Temporary Supervision Committee became twisted, and the horny students beyond the door all became silent. As he said this, Zhang Tai didn't turn to Samira, whose face had long turned white. Instead, he glanced at the bodyguards, whose faces had also turned white, and Jagla, the one who had thrown Samira's purse inside Zhang Tai's mining basket. Revealing his white teeth, Zhang Tai smiled. Do you know how Black Hot City and the Andaman Alliance would deal with them if they were arrested for being traitors and moles? Their entire families would be hung. At this moment, in the eyes of the bodyguards, Zhang Tai's smile looked more terrifying than that of a demon. Not to mention, they wouldn't let you have an easy death. Before dying, you will be dealt with by professionals who, for the sake of interrogation, would not let a single inch of skin on any of your family members remain untouched. I know how they treat spies more clearly than any one of you. No, we are not spies or traitors. Several bodyguards had turned pale and stammered. Whether or not you are spies is not something for you to decide, but rather, it will depend on the reason you have purposely slandered and framed me, and it will also depend on whether you were trying to stir up trouble during the survival training by setting me up. For the spies of the Norman Empire, they can't wait to see the people from Black Hot City be restless, Zhang Tai looked in the eyes of the bodyguards calmly before moving his gaze to Jagla. Under Zhang Tai's gaze, their legs had already started to shake, and Zhang Tai did not miss this. He then suddenly and loudly shouted, "Your heads are going to be chopped off, but you're still planning to remain silent? Do you want me to report you to Black Hot City's Ministry of Internal Affairs? Without needing to take out the soul and bloodline contract, the powerful departments of Black Hot City can put your entire family behind bars. Will you only speak the truth then?" At this time, Black Hot City is encountering a great danger. For just a bit of compensation from the Samira business group and that mole of Norman Empire, the traitor of Black Hot City, do you really think it's worth it for you to sacrifice the lives of all your family members for him? Hearing Zhang Tai's further persuasion, Jagla completely collapsed mentally. At the same time, the plaintiff suddenly pointed at Samira and exclaimed, "I'll speak. I will say everything. It's him. It's Samira who told me to throw a purse into your mining basket. He wanted me to frame you as a thief and then arrest you." Jagla, who suffered the most internally, suddenly collapsed like a broken dam, causing the bodyguards' mental fortitude to immediately be destroyed. At the same time, all the teachers of the Temporary Supervision Committee and all the horny students outside the door were shocked. Afterwards, it turned into a great chaos. "I'll speak, I'll speak. It was Samira who had wanted us to arrest you after having Jagla pretend that his purse was stolen by you. And it was also Samira who wanted us to do this in public in order to let as many people know as possible. It's Samira who wanted to disturb this survival training. It has nothing to do with us. We are just bodyguards who are trying to earn an ordinary living wage. We are not moles and traitors of the Norman Empire. Samira told us that he would reward us as long as we were able to complete this task well. We really don't know whether he's a mole who wants to disturb this survival training." The bodyguards instantly shrieked one by one, fearing that their chance to prove their innocence would be taken away. Hearing their testimonies, everything before Samira's eyes turned pitch black as he passed out and hit his head on the ground. For a while, after the great commotion from the shock, both the people inside and outside of the office suddenly became silent. In face of such a quick change and unbelievable outcome, they all felt their minds go blank. At this moment, Captain Kurlin, Mr. Zaram, Miss Chili, all the teachers, and the horny students outside the door were gazing at Zhang Tai as if they were looking at a ghost. Everyone had witnessed how this miner had used his mouth to complete an amazing reversal, step by step revealing Samira's hidden status as a mole of the Norman Empire. This is too terrifying, too exciting, too **king dramatic. For many people, since young, they had never seen such a huge incident. Mr. Zaram was the first to respond. Like a bird, Mr. Zaram jumped out from behind the line of desks and chairs and walked before Samira with just one step. Samira, who had just awoken and was shaking his head, passed out once again from Zaram's ferocious kick. Emergency situation. Samira might be a mole from the Norman Empire. Since we don't know whether there are other dangerous individuals within the Samira business group, all students outside, listen to my order. Take your weapons and follow me. We will go and disarm the people from the Samira business group. After he finished saying that, Mr. Zaram turned to Miss Chili and solemnly said, "Miss Chili, please immediately report what had happened here to Black Hot City on behalf of the Temporary Supervision Committee and invite experts over to take over for the following proceedings, including Samira's interrogations." After taking another glance at Zhang Tai, Miss Chili seemed to have recovered her composure a bit. She then nodded. "I will faithfully report what has happened here to Black Hot City." At this moment, many of the horny students who had witnessed the entire interrogation started to shout outside, "Samira is a mole from the Norman Empire. Samira is a traitor of Black Hot City." Such loud screams and shouts gradually caused turmoil in Wild Wolf Castle. Seeing the matter deteriorate to this degree, everybody knew that even if Samira's life could be saved, his future had been completely destroyed. Chapter 102, A Crazy Campaign. Samira is a mole from the Norman Empire. All students, attention. Take your weapons. Together with Temporary Supervision Committee, we will disarm everyone who belongs to the Samira business group. Do not let any of them escape. That was Baghdad's shout. The shout could be heard through almost the entire Wild Wolf Castle. Seeing the affair developing to such a degree, Zhang Tai also felt that he was wasting time by standing here. As for the teachers of the Temporary Supervision Committee, their eyes filled with terror were fixed on Zhang Tai. It was as if they were gazing at a prehistoric animal. The office turned into chaos. The moment Zhang Tai bent down and was planning to stealthily slip away, Mr. Zaram grabbed a hold of him. "Zhang Tai, since you are the one who made this contribution, follow me to disarm the other people from the Samira business group. Before they are able to slip away, you should take a careful look at them and see whether there are any among them who tried to stir up trouble with you by arresting you. Saying this in a righteous manner, Zaram winked at Zhang Tai. Although Zhang Tai didn't know Zaram's plan, he knew that it was the right moment for him to leave, thus he hurriedly nodded. With weapons in hand, Zaram led a great number of students attending this survival training and rushed outside Wild Wolf Castle with killing intent. Before they had even realized what was happening, the Samira Business Group employees in the square of Wild Wolf Castle had already been surrounded by the students, who were now pointing their spears at them. If they showed an intent to move, then they might be stabbed by a dozen spears simultaneously. The expression on the faces of every one of the Samira Business Group employees changed, as they did not know what was happening in the least. Facing such a great matrix of spears, even the LV-3 and LV-4 bodyguards of the Samira Business Group dared not to move. Seeing Zaram and a group of students walking towards them, a small director of the Samira Business Group, who was confused about what was happening, shouted furiously, "Mr. Zaram, what's going on? You guys need to give us an explanation. Where's our boss, Samira?" Aside from the Samira Business Group, standing by the side as they watched with wide-opened eyes, there were many other students in the square that were just as confused about what was happening. To all the employees of the Samira Business Group, may I please have your attention? Your boss, Samira, has been revealed to be a mole of the Norman Empire. The Temporary Supervision Committee has already taken the necessary measures against him. If you do not wish to be implicated by Samira, put down your weapons at once and follow our instructions. The officials from the Ministry of Internal Affairs will be arriving to take care of this incident. Before their arrival, although the Temporary Supervision Committee will be restricting your personal freedom, we will also guarantee your safety. Anyone who resists or does not cooperate with the Temporary Supervision Committee's disposal measures will be punished with espionage. Zaram shouted loudly in the square, causing everyone from the Samira Business Group to be shocked. The accusation that Samira was a mole of the Norman Empire had shocked them all and had even caused some to drop their weapons onto the ground. As the employees of Samira Business Group were just normal workers working for an ordinary wage, they all knew what they had to do to protect themselves at this moment. If any one of them dared to stir up trouble at this moment, they would be obviously seeking death. As expected, the 7 Samira Business Group employees all surrendered in the square and complied with the disposal measures of the Temporary Supervision Committee, calmly leaving the square with Zaram and a group of on-duty students. When Zaram took away the 7 people from the Samira Business Group, he patted Zhang Tai's shoulder and glanced at the large amount of items in the square brought by the Samira Business Group. Without saying a word, Zaram just winked towards Zhang Tai before leaving. Zhang Tai wasn't able to figure out Zaram's intention. It was only when Zaram had left and he had taken a second look at the items in the square did he realize what Zaram had meant. This Zaram guy is really cunning, but... I like him. All of a sudden, Zhang Tai became extremely excited. While the other students in the square were still discussing what had just happened, Zhang Tai had already waved towards the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood. Seeing Zhang Tai's glance, they instantly rushed over to him with expressions of excitement. Right as Barley opened his mouth, Zhang Tai had covered his mouth. "Listen, have you seen this stuff yet?" Zhang Tai pointed towards the items in the square that had been piled up by the Samira Business Group as he spoke in a low voice. "Hurry up and take whatever you want and as much as you can. Remember, move quickly, steadily, and confidently. No matter how many items you take, it will just be considered compensation from the Samira Business Group for ruining my reputation. Is that allowed?" Swallowing his saliva, Li's eyes were shining. Zhang Tai grinned. Saying not another word, he took his mining basket from Shawin. For Sharwin and Doug, he pointed at where the Samira Business Group had piled up their weapons, and for the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood, he had pointed at where the Samira Business Group had piled up their food. Sharwin was really a considerate man. He had brought along Zhang Tai's mining basket and mining tools, which were left outside the office just now. Since they belonged to Zhang Tai, he had brought them over for him. While Barley and the other members of Hit Plane Brotherhood were still dumbfounded, Zhang Tai had already walked towards the place where the Samira Business Group had piled up their food. At this place, a great number of students were still discussing, as they had not realized why the Samira Business Group members were taken away. Zhang Tai confidently entered the trading circle surrounded by the crates of the Samira Business Group. Taking in a deep breath, Zhang Tai glanced over the items and flipped his mining basket upside down before knocking it on the ground so as to shake off the dust inside. Then, he began to load the items into his mining basket. Dried milk slices, good item. Sausages, good item. Dried beef, good item. Dried rations, heh. Due to the limited space in the mining basket, I have to leave you alone. After Zhang Tai loaded up about half of his mining basket with dried milk slices and sausages, Barley and the other members had already ran over. After exchanging a glance, they said nothing, and with red eyes, began to look for what they needed. Every one of them brought a sack and began to load the items into it, keeping in mind what Zhang Tai had told them: move quickly, steadily, and confidently. After a short while, they had already completely filled their sacks, and Zhang Tai had also completely loaded his mining basket and carried it on his back. The mining basket was only a bit more than 80 kilograms in weight and was even lighter than when it was usually filled with ores. After putting the mining basket on his back, Zhang Tai took a glance at the other items beside him and picked up a huge piece of ham with one hand and 2 pieces of dried beef, which weighed more than 20 kilograms, with the other. While Zhang Tai and his brothers were calmly loading the items into their mining basket and sacks, all the other guys who were standing in line to exchange for food became silent as they watched the members of Hitplane Brotherhood with wide-opened eyes. Exchanging glances, they were completely confused as to what was happening. What are they doing? Are they employees of the Samira business group? They don't seem like it. What the hell are they doing? Finally, at the sight of Zhang Tai, who was preparing to leave with a mining basket filled with items and hands carrying a piece of ham and 2 dried pieces of beef, and the others who were carrying sacks so heavy that it caused their faces to be twisted, seemingly as if it almost broke their backs, a guy who stood to the side forcefully swallowed his saliva and asked, "Brothers, what are you doing?" "It's nothing. The Samira business group owed me, so I am just taking some items as compensation," Zhang Tai replied confidently before glancing at Barley and the other members of the Hitplane Brotherhood. Seeing that they had also completely loaded their sacks, Zhang Tai then walked out of the trading circle. "Excuse me, please give way." Zhang Tai and his brothers moved out from the pile of goods from the Samira business group. Zhang Tai then saw that Sharwin and Doug, who were both carrying a sack and held a box in hand, were ready to leave as well. Zhang Tai, Barley, and the other members immediately went to converge with Sharwin and Doug. After glancing at each other, they all became so excited that their faces had turned red. Although the items on their backs were heavy, nobody felt that they were heavy. Every one of them burst out with great force and hated the fact that they only had 2 hands. "Hurry up, go to the tree base. It's going to get chaotic here," Zhang Tai murmured. All the members of the Hitplane Brotherhood exchanged glances before lowering their heads and quickly disappearing from the square of Wild Wolf Castle with the items on their backs and ones in their hands. "Oh, I remember that Samira business group owed me something too." Seeing Zhang Tai and the other guys disappearing from the square of Wild Wolf Castle, the guy who had just talked with Zhang Tai glanced over the piled items that were supervised by no one and suddenly figured out what had just happened. He then rushed inside the trading circle, and after picking up 2 pieces of dried beef, he quickly left. Seeing the second guy taking 2 huge pieces of dried beef, many more people among the onlookers realized what was going on and started to act. "I also remember. I haven't taken the food that I had deposited here." Another guy rushed forward and took away some items. "I also remember. The Samira business group owes me some food from the exchange last time." "I also remember." More and more people rushed forward, while the others were still hesitating. "Brothers, Samira is a mole of the Norman Empire. During the survival training, we follow the wartime decree of the Andaman Alliance. Have you forgotten? These items belong to the Samira business group. That is to say, since Samira is our enemy, these items are our war trophies. What are you still looking at? Whoever grabs them will own them. Go grab." In the square, a great number of horny students were stimulated by these words. As a result, almost 1,000 people attended the crazy campaign. At first, only the horny male students rushed forward to grab the items. However, after seeing their actions, even the girls rolled up their sleeves to join them. At this moment, they didn't need to be polite at all. Since they had realized that Samira was a mole of the Norman Empire, why would they be polite to their enemy? Chapter 103, A Big Harvest. Boom! The entire square of Wild Wolf Castle was thrown into chaos. For the boys, they would have to spend some time to bring the items back to their base or camp, which were nearby Wild Wolf Castle, while the girls would, like ants, bring the items back into the inner castle before rushing out and getting more. "Sisters, come on. These are our trophies," an elder sister-like female student commanded outside Wild Wolf Castle as she supported her hands on her waist. "If any bastard dares to grab our items, then we will go beat him to death." Seeing the suddenly chaotic situation in the square of Wild Wolf Castle, Zaram smiled. "That fellow named Zhang Tai is truly smart. He actually understood my intentions. At least 1,000 people have taken the items of the Samira business group, meaning that at least 1,000 people believe that Samira is a mole of the Norman Empire. This time, Samira will definitely not be able to explain his way out of his crimes. Even though Samira has a great backer, considering Samira's notorious reputation, who would be willing to have a connection with this guy? At this moment, Samira and his employees had already been put behind bars. Seeing the on-duty students gazing at him with desires, Zaram smiled. Move quickly. I had promised you an hour of break. Remember to call your fellow students since you all deserve a share of the war trophies. Hearing Zaram's words, all the on-duty students became spirited, and one by one, they immediately disappeared before him. After the on-duty students left, Captain Kurlan walked towards Zaram as he rubbed his chin. Together with Zaram, the two stood on the high walls of the outer castle of Wild Wolf Castle with eyes fixed on the plunder carnival. Did you send someone to tell the idiots of the Male Lion Association about the event with Samira? Zaram showed an evil smile. I don't know how those fellows would feel when they find out the person they had made a promise with and was cooperating with was a mole of the Norman Empire. Right after they left, this was revealed. This time, the expression on the face of that brat by the name of Berwick is definitely going to be a sight to behold. I have already sent some of the faster guys to give them this information. They should not have gone too far yet. I really hope those idiots with blood rushing to their heads could be a little more rational and give up on the idea of capturing golden wolves. This way, there would be fewer casualties. Captain Kurlan softly sighed. Berwick has truly made me disappointed. I did not expect that he would cooperate with Samira and lead the Male Lion Association to the Crescent Prairie for the sake of making his ambitions come true at the risk of the lives of the other students. Although Berwick is smart, he is too ambitious and too selfish. Such a person is very dangerous, as he will feel no hesitation to sacrifice others for the sake of his own benefits. In contrast, I feel that Zhang Tai is much better and can give you a surprise at any moment. Oh, I almost forgot, have you heard how he fought the Samira Business Group bodyguards? Those brats have praised his fighting skills so much. I've already heard of it, but I still don't believe it. No matter how careless a LV-3 warrior is, he would never be beaten and sent flying within just a single round. Captain Kurlan rubbed his steel needle-like mustache as he pondered over it. I have not seen him perform this well at school. Could what the other students said be true? For him, is mining the most rigid and mysterious method of cultivation? Perhaps. Zaram shrugged his shoulders casually. The Chinese clan is the most mysterious and the strongest of all the clans on the Kuinan continent and has its own time-honored and honorable mysterious cultivation system. I have heard that even the catastrophe could not stop the succession of their cultivation system, let alone the fact that the Chinese clan had also dug out many legacies from the underground world, thus obtaining numerous mysterious knowledge. That brat is Chinese and might have obtained some mysterious knowledge. People who have not been to the Oriental continent would not be truly powerful. Perhaps I will visit the Oriental continent one day. I have heard that it was pretty splendid over there and is filled with many powerful figures and numerous beauties. Zaram showed an expression of longing. Stop talking about the future. What should we do now? Is it really fine to treat Samira that way? Captain Kurlan pointed at the noisy square below. This is just a small turmoil caused by Samira, a mole of the Norman Empire, and has nothing to do with us. Zaram yawned, feeling as if it had nothing to do with him. He casually added, although there seems to be a great number of items, in the eyes of the big figures, they are worth nothing. The guy with bad luck in this is only Samira. Who would blame us for treating a mole of the Norman Empire, especially one who had tried to frame a student in such a despicable manner and had incited the anger of the public? Wouldn't they be afraid of being treated as an accomplice of the mole? Zaram showed an evil and cunning smile. We will just treat these items as gifts from the Samira business group to the brats during tonight's bonfire. Although I couldn't wait to pinch and break his eggs, who would have thought that Samira would be finished in such a way? Why did he set up Zhang Tai? I really can't think it through. Captain Kurlan heaved a deep sigh. Ha 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 ha, stop thinking about that unlucky fellow. If Samira has any bitterness left to pour out, then just let him explain it to the guys from the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Black Hot City, who always suspect everything. As he finished saying this, Zaram looked right and left before whispering to Captain Kurlan in a mysterious tone, I heard that Zhang Tai was given a strange punishment by Miss Chili. He probably doesn't know that in the eyes of the girls, he has already become a hero. What punishment? Zaram's strange behavior made Captain Kurlan unconsciously move back. I heard that girls nowadays mature early and are good at picking men. Heh. Don't you think this survival training is becoming more and more interesting? Yes, this survival training is becoming more and more interesting. Captain Kurlan remembered the students who he had just inquired about Zhang Tai's fight with the Samira Business Group bodyguards. Based on the descriptions and the imitations of the actions from the students, Captain Kurlan realized that the fist skill Zhang Tai had used to strike back at that bodyguard was the exact same hammer fist skill that was part of the Iron Blood fist, causing Captain Kurlan to be amazed. Within such a short period of time, is that Brett already able to apply the fighting skills within the Iron Blood Fist into practical fights? That was a lot of progress. Captain Curlin knew that even if it was the simplest move, there was still a huge gap between theory in a book and applying it to a fight. In order to cross over this gap, you would have to fight others with real machetes and spears, you would have to bleed and sweat before instinctively mastering these fighting skills and moves and being able to respond quickly at the most critical junctures during a fight. With the exception of this method, there were no other methods available. However, that Brad had received the Iron Blood Fist for less than a week, within which, according to the description given by the other students, he had spent half a day every day digging in the mines, meaning that he had less time to cultivate. That shouldn't be the case. Could it be true that digging in the mines is a mysterious cultivation method in the Chinese clan? Should I give it a try myself? Captain Curlin mumbled inwardly. He himself was really startled by his idea of digging in the mines. 2 hours later, every one of the Salmira business group's items piled up in the square of Wild Wolf Castle, including the items that they had purchased from and exchanged with the students, like wolf hides, medicinal herbs, and crystal sands, were taken away with nothing left behind. It was as if a pack of wolves had licked clean the entire square of Wild Wolf Castle. When the students who were still restless after plundering Salmira's items heard that Salmira was trying to despicably stir up trouble during the survival training by setting up students who attended it, they immediately became reassured and furious. Every one of them reaffirmed that a guy like Salmira, who used such dirty tricks to stir up trouble during the survival training, was definitely a mole of the Norman Empire who was lurking in Black Hot City. There were definitely reasons behind his disgusting behavior. When the chaos in the square of Wild Wolf Castle came to an end, Zhang Tai and the other members of the Hitplane Brotherhood had already arrived at their tree base and were covered in sweat. Although they moved as slowly as snails, they had already won the game since they were able to carry back so many items. Usually, they would not be able to stand carrying so many items at once, but for them to use such a righteous way to become rich through robbery, they wanted to obtain as much as they could carry at once. Therefore, every one of them exerted their utmost efforts to do so. Out of them all, the weight of the items carried by Sharwin was the least, including the items in his hands. It totaled to roughly 50 kilograms. In contrast, Zhang Tai had carried the most, with the mining basket on his back being fully loaded as well as his hands holding items. Zhang Tai alone carried more than 100 kilograms of items. As for the others, Barley, Leet, Hista, Doug, and Baghdad, each respectively carried 50 to 80 kilograms of items. Baghdad directly carried a huge sack of dried meat that weighed at least 60 kilograms and had not even been opened, though the sack was slightly smaller than Zhang Tai's mining basket. Additionally, Baghdad had also clamped 2 bags of sausages under his armpits. Altogether, the items carried by Baghdad would weigh more than 80 kilograms. Carrying these items, everybody became exceptionally excited. They only rested for a couple of times on the journey back and all spent all their efforts to bring back the items that they had plundered to their tree base. At the sight of Zhang Tai, Pandora ran over with slightly red eyes. Hugging Zhang Tai tightly, she burst out into tears. "It's all my fault. Because of me, you met troubles." At the sight of the other guy's lustful eyes, Zhang Tai became both slightly embarrassed and moved. Ever since he was young, it was the first time for a girl to hug him while crying. Zhang Tai didn't know what to say to make the situation better. This Pandora, whenever others encountered misfortune, she would always think the bad luck was related to her. "Don't cry. Look, aren't I perfectly fine? Today, we have such a big harvest, and I have even brought you a gift." Chapter 104, A Great Shock. As expected, the moment Pandora heard the word gift, she loosened her arms that were wrapped around Zhang Tai before looking around at the others. Feeling a bit embarrassed, her face immediately turned red. Zhang Tai didn't care about Pandora's response and directly passed the pieces of dried beef that weighed about 30 kilograms to her. As it was very heavy, Pandora almost failed to steadily hold them even with 2 arms. This is my gift?" Pandora stared in amazement with wide-opened eyes. This amount of dried beef was worth a lot, not only in the survival training but in Black Hot City as well. For other girls, every day, they would only be able to exchange items for at most 0.05 kilograms to 0.2 kilograms of dried meat. Pandora had never thought that she would one day obtain such a large amount of dried beef at once. This amount of food is enough for you to live through the survival training and perhaps even longer than that. In the end, Zhang Tai had stolen it from the Salmira business group and did not feel reluctant to give it as a present to Pandora. With the other food he had brought back this time, the amount of food he had stored would be enough for him to survive for half a year. Since he couldn't finish it all even by the end of the survival training and neither could he bring the extra food back home to Black Hot City, at this moment, he decided to be a rich and generous man in front of Pandora. I've never met anyone who treats me so well. Why do you treat me so well? With eyes fixed on Zhang Tai, Pandora's nose was slightly shaking and her pair of beautiful blue eyes began to become glossy and watery once again. You are my lucky angel, so I will bring you up. Zhang Tai made such a joke to stop Pandora from crying, but soon after saying it, he realized he went too far and his words were ambiguous. Thus, he hurriedly added, we are partners, so of course I will make you full. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, Hista made an obscene smile. Stop your love talk, please. Hurry up and go back to the tree base. We can't stand it anymore. Pandora, what Zhang Tai means is that you should eat more meat, so you develop well. Heh, you should know what Zhang Tai means. To the side, Hista grinned. For an unknown reason, as long as Hista opened his mouth, he always gave others a sense of obscenity. Hearing his words, Pandora's face turned even redder. Furiously glancing at Hista and Zhang Tai, she slightly bit her lip before hugging the dried meat and returned to the tree base. Come on, let's go back to count our achievements. Barley also urged to the side. The moment Barley urged them, Zhang Tai recovered his composure from Pandora's embarrassed and sexy glance, which had caused him to be captivated. It was not an exaggeration in the least, he was truly captivated by that glance. At the sight of Pandora's eyes, Zhang Tai felt as if a nerve in his head had become slightly numb before a wisp of excitement trembled and instantly flashed across his whole body like a current of electricity. This time, Zhang Tai couldn't help but keep his eyes on Pandora's butt and started to feel an exceptional charm from Pandora's butt. While his P***nis that was swollen and full of blood, an evil thought flashed in his mind. Although Pandora was thin, she was also sexy. After returning to their tree base, when counting the achievements they brought back, even the girls who worked with the Hitplane Brotherhood stared with wide-opened eyes at Zhang Tai, Barley, and the other 3 people who carried back goods that were more than 300 kilograms in weight. All the items were of high calorie and best sellers like dried milk slices, pieces of dried meat, sausages, ham, etc. In addition to the food brought back, Charwin and Doug had brought back several crates. Opening the crates, the gleaming long swords and the portable spare parts, which could be assembled into a spear, that laid on the grass caused the horny students to exclaim. There were 2 crates of spears with 4 spears in each, and 2 crates of long swords with 8 swords in each, totaling to 8 spears and 16 long swords. They were all military weapons produced in Black Hot City and were even of higher quality than what they usually used in the survival training. After jubilantly asking the girls to take some of the food to cook supper, every member of the Hitplane Brotherhood started to discuss how they were to deal with these items in the tree house. In the tree hollow, all the horny members stared at Zhang Tai with no one speaking a single word. Under their gazes, Zhang Tai became a bit baffled. Scratching his head, he then said, "Why are you staring at me?" The other horny members then moved their gazes onto Barley, who then smiled. These items could be considered compensation from the Samira business group for damaging your reputation, so you have the right to deal with them. We have only brought them back for you. I'm the one deciding? Zhang Tai pointed at his nose as all the other members of the Hitplane Brotherhood nodded. Seeing these items, Zhang Tai thought for a while before uttering, well, since Charwin and Doug were the ones who brought back the weapons, then they can each pick 2 weapons, 1 long weapon and 1 short weapon. After that, there will be 6 spears and 14 long swords left, which will be considered as items to be shared by the Hitplane Brotherhood. As for the food we brought back today, we will share them equally. Do you agree with this distribution? Looking at Zhang Tai, the other members of the Hitplane Brotherhood all burst out into laughter, as they all thought Big Head was truly generous in this affair. I agree with equal distribution of food and the weapons given to Charwin and Doug. However, if the remaining weapons belong to the Brotherhood, I think it will be pretty unfair to you. This solution is also not in compliance with the principles of the Hitplane Brotherhood. After all, you are the one who had spent a lot of efforts this time and are the one who has made the most contribution in the Hitplane Brotherhood. Barley looked very shrewd at this moment. How about this? We will distribute the remaining 20 weapons based on the number of shares. Since Zhang Tai has contributed the most, he will own 40% of the weapons. The remaining 60% will belong to the 6 of us. As for the personal weapons we have with us, if we don't need them, then we can exchange them for shares. After this survival training ends, we will sell this batch of weapons in Black Hot City, and the money we get will be used as our first team fund. What do you think about my suggestion? Great. Everybody agreed as they all felt Barley's opinion was much better and more reasonable. Seeing the others nodding, Zhang Tai nodded as well. At this moment, none of the youths could have imagined that the Hitplane Brotherhood, starting as a trivial group that used spears and swords as shares, would become brilliant in the future. The event of Samira being a mole of the Norman Empire was gradually developing. On a side of a hill more than 10 miles away from Wild Wolf Castle, the on-duty students who had set off from Wild Wolf Castle finally caught up with the horny students of the Male Lion Association, who were ready to capture golden wolves and pick gooseneck grass. After all, a team of more than 200 members could not move as fast as a squad of only 7 or 8 people. After catching up with them, when the on-duty students told Berwick the news that Samira might be a mole of the Norman Empire, Berwick's face immediately turned pale. The Male Lion Association was thrown into chaos, and in confusion, they began to look at each other one by one. What's happening? How could Samira suddenly become a mole of the Norman Empire? Berwick doubted. Of course, he didn't know what had happened in Wild Wolf Castle in the past several hours. He would never imagine that his casual exposing of Zhang Tai to Samira, which was due to fear of being surpassed, would, in the end, bury Samira. We won't know the results until the officials from Black Hot City's Ministry of Internal Affairs take over the follow-up investigation of Samira's case. Except for you, the fact that Samira had intended to stir up trouble in this survival training is already known by everyone in Wild Wolf Castle. The on-duty students who came to inform the Male Lion Association looked shrewd and had eyes that contained a wisp of contempt and mockery. Any smart person could see through Berwick's ambition. As students of Mr. Zaram, the teacher of the 2nd National Male Middle School, many of them were smart. The teachers of the Temporary Supervision Committee feared that you were being framed by the mole of the Norman Empire. That is why they sent us to inform you. Samira cannot even protect himself now, so the promises that he had made in front of you might never be realized. Additionally, nobody knows whether or not Samira intended to harm you by instigating you to march towards Crescent Prairie. It's estimated that the officials of Black Hot City's Ministry of Internal Affairs will be interested in those who have cooperated with Samira. Before leaving, one of the on-duty students turned around and shouted loudly, "Brothers of the Male Lion Association, Samira is finished. You'd better not be the cannon fodder of some insidious person. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a bonfire party tonight in Wild Wolf Castle." No matter how cunning Berwick was, he also became restless at this moment. If he continued to march towards Crescent Prairie, then he would truly be an idiot. Berwick even started to doubt whether there would even be someone who would want to go with him to experience such an adventure which was teeming with dangers and could even put him in a load of trouble. However, if they went back to the Wild Wolf Castle, every member of the Male Lion Association, who had generously sworn to complete this great mission, might become a huge laughing stock in this survival training. No, it was not might become, but rather, they had already become one. As the instigator of this huge farce, how could his school recommend such a figure? How did it come to this? Berwick was also confused. He then converted this confusion into hatred and anger. Who was the one who had made me lose everything and turn me into a public laughingstock when I was so close to success? Berwick's expressions changed quickly while thinking it over. He was so concentrated that he even failed to notice the people beside him who had called to him several times. When Berwick recovered his composure, he found that all the other members of the Male Lion Association were giving him strange looks. We better return to our base first. Berwick forced a smile. After returning to their base, Berwick sent someone to investigate what had happened to Samira. However, the news from Wild Wolf Castle shocked Berwick for a long time. Zhang Tai, it was Zhang Tai. Chapter 105, Becoming More and More Handsome. By the time the sun had set, large pieces of wood had been piled up 2 meters high in the middle of the square of Wild Wolf Castle, and to the side of the tall pile of wood were scattered smaller pieces of woods that were covered in pine resin. With burning torches in hand, the on-duty students waited to the side with eyes fixed on the highest point of the inner castle tower of Wild Wolf Castle where the lightning rods were installed. As the last wisp of sunlight slipped behind the highest point of the inner castle tower of Wild Wolf Castle, every pile of wood was set ablaze and the bonfire party started. At every place and at every night party, women were always the protagonists as well as the hosts of the party, and this included the bonfire party in Wild Wolf Castle. The moment the piles of wood were ignited, those women had already successively walked out of the castle in groups. Every one of the girls had delicately dressed up, and many of them wore a beautiful skirt. Seeing the groups of girls surging out from the gate of the inner castle, many horny students who had already waited to the side of the gates of Wild Wolf Castle took heavy breaths, and with wide-opened eyes, they gazed at the girls passing by, completely captivated by what they were seeing. Along with the flying skirts that brought along with it a fragrant breeze came the various enchanting figures, plump or slim, and various adorable smiles. Compared to when they had first seen those girls at the railway station, this time, they saw real girls, perhaps even goddesses. Some of the horny students even choked on their own saliva and began to loudly cough. Much like the tradition in Black Hot City, the bonfire party during the survival training was also considered a tradition. During the survival training, the male students would always show their own abilities and worth, while the female students showed their value for reproduction. The girls came out of the castle in teams of 2. Once they came out, they would begin to separate, with one to the left and the other to the right. After respectively occupying a place in the square, they would sit down by the bonfire, seemingly as if they were competing with each other for the attention of the boys. However, while the boys would use their praise to show their value, the girls, in a similar manner, would use their own values. They would use their beauty, elegance, charm, and other abilities to conquer the boys. Tonight, the girls were the protagonists. It was only when all the girls had come out from the castle, sat by the bonfire, and had displayed the attitudes of hosts were the boys, who had long been waiting to the side, allowed to join them. When all the girls sat beside the bonfires, the animals, who had long been drooling, drew close to the circles of girls that surrounded the bonfire as they pretended to be gentlemen. The square of Wild Wolf Castle then started to be boisterous. Facing the first night party ever since they were born, all the horny students in the Hitplane Brotherhood also paid a great deal of attention to this chance. As someone had to stay in the tree base to keep an eye on it, they drew lots to decide who would stay. Unexpectedly, it was Baghdad who was to stay back, resulting in him being silent and depressed. However, after Zhang Tai took out of the and told him that he had several hours to read this book if he stayed in the tree base, Baghdad grinned. For guys like Baghdad, who treated fighting skills as their lives, he had truly made a huge gain this time. As they had to participate in such a night party, they would certainly treat it seriously. After supper, they then started to take a bath in that stream that was not far from the tree base. Afterwards, they returned to the tree base and searched their luggage for a set of clean clothes. For this survival training, Zhang Tai had only brought a total of 3 sets of clothes and a pair of spare shoes. One of the 3 sets of clothes was the uniform of Black Hot City's City Guard Army, which was left by his elder brother. This uniform was the favorite amongst the adolescents in Black Hot City and was the most popular fashion item in the black market. Although it was much larger than Zhang Tai's frame, his mom had tailored it and made it barely suitable to Zhang Tai's frame. His mom was very considerate, and in consideration of Zhang Tai's fast growth, she had specifically made it a bit larger than Zhang Tai's current frame. During the last New Year when Zhang Tai wore it as a set of new clothes, he had to roll up his sleeves and trousers a bit, but today when he wore it again, he felt that it was only a bit loose and fit him quite well. This time, he didn't need to roll up his sleeves and trousers. After changing into a set of new clothes and wearing that pair of leather boots that were gifted to him by his elder brother, Zhang Tai, with the exception of the collar insignia and shoulder strap on his hat and clothes, completely became a member of the City Guard Army in Black Hot City. Among the adolescents in Black Hot City, this was their favorite way to dress. Fastening a leather belt around his waist, he hung the new sword that he obtained today in the buckle of the leather belt around his waist. After doing all of this, he felt spirited. The long sword on his waist was exchanged with Sharwin. As that sword was the one engraved with Zhang Tai's name and was lent to him by Zhang Tai, Sharwin wanted to take it as a memento, thus he used the new sword that he had obtained today and exchanged it for the sword which had Zhang Tai's name engraved upon it. Since Zhang Tai was the last person to finish cleaning himself up, he was certainly the last one to finish changing into a set of clean clothes and walk out from the tree hollow. By the time Zhang Tai had jumped out of the tree hollow, Barley and the others had already been waiting for him below it. At the sight of Zhang Tai, all the other members looked at him with wide-opened eyes and instantly stopped talking. "What's wrong?" Zhang Tai touched all over his body and lowered his head to check his crotch but found nothing was amiss. "That's really strange. After dressing up, I suddenly feel that Big Head is much more handsome than before." Barley opened his mouth. "Am I handsome?" Zhang Tai giggled as he touched his head. Since he was born, this was the first time that he was praised by others as handsome. "Really, I feel that Big Head could already survive by using just his face." Hista showed an obscene smile. "Bastard, you go survive yourself by just using your face." Zhang Tai rebutted. "Haha, thanks for your praise. To be able to survive using my face is my lifelong dream. Big Head, I feel that you are really different from before." Leet, with 2 fingers caressing his chin like an old man, glanced at Zhang Tai from top to bottom. "I can't tell the specifics, but I can feel that you are really something and have a big chi field," Baghdad said. "I also feel that Big Head seems more handsome than before," Sharwin added. "Ha, ha," Zhang Tai burst out into laughter, as his vanity was somewhat satisfied at this moment. "Well, we are all very handsome. Let's go." In truth, Zhang Tai didn't know that ever since he had obtained the castle of Black Iron, his body and spirit had undergone a tremendous change. The effects of the leakless fruit gradually improved Zhang Tai's body. At this moment, Zhang Tai looked magnificent yet reserved. The largest change was Zhang Tai's eyes, followed by his hair and skin. The health of a person's eyes, hair, and skin was closely related to the energy within his body, his secretion glands, and the functioning and vitality of organs like the liver and the kidney. One effect of the leekless fruit was exactly reflected in the improvements of human energy and the functioning and vitality of human organs and glands. At the age of 15, his eyes should only be brilliant, but after obtaining the castle of black iron and especially after eating 3 leekless fruits, Zhang Tai's eyes looked more than brilliant and even shone a bit, making him look very vibrant. Besides his eyes, his hair had also improved a lot. His hair was neither good nor bad before, but after washing it, his black hair looked as if it had been carefully maintained like that of those honorable ladies. Deep in his eyes was a sort of magnificent spirit which showed his vigorous vitality. As for his skin, it was just as average as the others. Ever since he had entered puberty, his skin was troubled with acne every once in a while, but since a bit more than a month ago, Zhang Tai hadn't noticed that the couple of acne on his face had long disappeared. Not only that, his skin was gradually becoming more and more delicate, brighter, and cleaner than before. The only side effect of the leekless fruit is that it made Zhang Tai look more and more handsome. Although Zhang Tai was not considered ugly before and could even rank in the upper middle areas among the Chinese adolescents, after experiencing such a great change, Zhang Tai instantly became outstanding. Continually mining and doing high-intensity labor work gradually caused Zhang Tai's muscles to become prominent and sturdy, while his body and shoulders gradually became broader. After the continuous cultivation and repetitively experiencing life and death situations in the trouble reappearance fruit, Zhang Tai looked more and more mysterious and profound. With all these advantages, even Zhang Tai himself had not realized that he was gradually becoming more and more excellent and attractive among his peers. As Hista had said, Zhang Tai could already survive by just using his face in front of girls. These days, since Zhang Tai had been busy digging in the mines, he looked dirty every day with that ugly mining basket on his back, thus few people had noticed his change. However, after taking a simple bath, combing his hair, and changing into a set of clean clothes, Zhang Tai immediately looked different in the eyes of the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood, who had stayed with him for a long time. Because of their lack of experience, they had failed to identify the small changes to Zhang Tai. The moment they saw him, they only felt that Zhang Tai had become much more handsome. Chapter 106, Being a Bestseller. When the 6 members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood arrived at Wild Wolf Castle, it was already completely dark, and the square with the bonfires was becoming increasingly boisterous. Looking from a distance, the red flames from the bonfires in the square looked like bundles of flower blossoms that attracted crazy bees and romantic butterflies to fly over. In addition to that, the music played on the accordions, and over time, the aroma of the roasted meat drifted far away along with the cheers of the horny students. The pleasant atmosphere could even be felt by the other people at the foot of the mountain. The moment they paced up to ascend the mountain, they heard the exclamations and whistles of the animals who were sitting around 2 girls with masks on their faces who were performing a belly dance, which had many chaotic movements as they twisted their waists and bellies. After the party, we will meet up here before heading back to the tree base together. Brothers, seducing girls is a personal fight. I will go first, good luck. After saying this with an obscene smile, Hista spat out the 2 tea leaves that were brought by Barley and immediately drilled into the crowd before disappearing. Barley and the other members also cleansed their mouths before spitting out the tea leaves used to refresh their mouths. After exchanging glances, they said good luck to each other before drilling into the crowd and disappearing, leaving Zhang Tai standing on the ground alone, confused as to where to go. Zhang Tai was not aware that what had happened to him at noon today, especially his fight with the bodyguard of the Samira business group, which was even described as marvelous, had caused his name to be well known among the girls in Wild Wolf Castle. They all knew how he forced back a LV-3 bodyguard of the Samira business group within a round and had used the hidden blade move to deter the people who tried to set him up. Winning the fight using his intelligence and verbal prowess, he finally revealed Samira's status as a mole of the empire. He was able to beat Samira, who had intended to frame him and put him in a hellish state, in such a short period of time. Such a reversal did not only shock the onlooking students but also the teachers of the Temporary Supervision Committee. How could such a talented person just be silently digging in the mines before? Wasn't that strange? Well, there was no need to be curious about that, as it was a profound mysterious cultivation method of the Chinese clan in the Oriental continent. When some of the gossipy students asked about that amazing, black-haired miner, they realized that he was exactly the Zhang Tai who was known everywhere in Wild Wolf Castle since a few days ago for his heroic feat of killing 3 wild wolves before jumping into a 200 m deep cave in order to survive. Realizing this, they felt that Zhang Tai was even more mysterious. Powerful and mysterious were how many girls felt about Zhang Tai when they heard this name. As there were only a few Chinese students attending this survival training, the moment Zhang Tai appeared in the square of Wild Wolf Castle, he was instantly recognized by many people who paid attention to him. Unexpectedly, Zhang Tai was also handsome and robust, which had caused many girls who were stealthily paying attention to him to become exceptionally spirited at the sight of this key person. In truth, Zhang Tai's figure and his personalities definitely made him attractive in the eyes of others. Standing in pace, Zhang Tai swallowed his saliva as he stealthily glanced at the two hot girls beside him. Out of his expectation, a beauty had suddenly appeared in front of him. Almost as tall as Zhang Tai, that beauty had amber-colored hair, white skin, and a delicate face. She was wearing an elegant longuette while her two plump breasts were exposed from her V-shaped collar. "Wow, so huge!" Zhang Tai exclaimed inwardly. Regardless of sex, white people had the advantage over Chinese people when it came to physical development. Taking this beauty as an example, although she looked no more than 16 years old, her hot figure could even match those Chinese women in their 30s. She was the perfect example of a woman with an angel's face and a terrific figure. Seeing the beauty gazing at him with a big smile, Zhang Tai looked left and right before ascertaining she was here for him. "Hello, I'm Alice, can I invite you to be my playmate in this bonfire party?" Being invited by a beauty to be her playmate? "Oh my god!" Zhang Tai exclaimed inwardly. "Is today April Fool's Day? Or I am just lucky enough to encounter beauties? Are you talking to me?" As it had only been a single day, Zhang Tai had not fully completed his transition from a poor adolescent to the focus of the girls, thus hearing the beauty's invitation, Zhang Tai became unconfident as he pointed at his own nose and asked the girl. "Of course, do you think I am talking to someone else?" Alice winked. A man, at such a moment and on such an occasion, unless there was something wrong with his mind, would never refuse the invitation of enchanting girls like Alice. Having satisfied his vanity, Zhang Tai recovered his composure as he forced a smile. "I'm Zhang Tai, it's my pleasure to be your playmate." Hearing Zhang Tai's words, Alice also showed a smile as she seized Zhang Tai's arm and hugged it between her breasts. While she did this, Alice looked proud as she glanced over the onlooking girls who had been focusing on Zhang Tai, sending them a special signal, "He's mine." This method of showing off was perhaps something that only girls could understand. At this moment, Zhang Tai's left hand was being hugged by Alice while his arm was tightly glued to Alice's plump breasts and was sandwiched between them. Although Alice did not see this as something serious, Zhang Tai's face immediately blushed. That sensation transmitted from his arm to his brain made him exceptionally excited, and Tai felt his D*ck instantly pop up like a beast capturing a prey. Zhang Tai immediately foisted his right hand into a pocket of his trousers before firmly pressing down on that thing. "What's wrong with you?" Unknown whether or not she had noticed Zhang Tai's abnormal movement, Alice innocently asked Zhang Tai as she silently rubbed Zhang Tai's arm onto her breasts a couple of times. Feeling the mischievousness and craftiness hidden in Alice's naive face and her innocent tone, Zhang Tai immediately converted his embarrassment into a braveness that even surprised himself. Pretending to be ferociously staring at Alice, he kissed her under her surprised look. Moving his mouth to Alice's ear, he whispered, "Earlier, I realized that thing was not tamed, so I just made it tamed. How are you so bold? You want to kiss me, but you don't ask whether I'm willing?" Alice, with wide-opened eyes, looked at Zhang Tai in amazement. "Well, if you felt that you suffered a loss, you can kiss me as compensation. Then, we will be even," Zhang Tai shamelessly said. "You bastard." Alice smiled again as she tightly hugged Zhang Tai's arm. Zhang Tai slightly heaved a sigh inwardly. After kissing Alice, Zhang Tai was also worried about what would happen next. He also felt that he was too bold just now, but then he remembered what his elder brother had told him. In fact, women really hated those gentlemen who dared not to be aggressive to them. If you bravely kissed a girl and she didn't slap you, then it meant that she had not lost interest in you. At the very least, she did not lose interest in you because of this kiss. You then have to stand the upcoming test. The biggest loser was those who instantly apologized after kissing a girl. Many girls didn't plan to slap you after being kissed. However, after you apologized, you might be slapped by them, and they would even add you into a list of bastards and would never form a good opinion of you. Girls were born to wait for a man with a whip to conquer them. Zhang Tai thought he was really lucky enough to meet such a beauty tonight, but never would he expected that this was not his only luck tonight. After walking a few steps forward with Alice, another beauty appeared in front of them. This was a blonde beauty who wore a skin-tight red mini vest, which caused her huge breasts to almost burst out, skin-tight trousers, and a pair of boots. She was as hot as Alice, and in a single sentence, she was really pleasant to Zhang Tai's eyes. With eyes fixed on Zhang Tai and a sweet and confident smile, that beauty directly walked towards Zhang Tai and Alice. When that beauty walked towards them, Zhang Tai felt Alice's tension and her hostility towards this woman. "Hello, I'm Beverly. Could I invite you to be my playmate tonight?" that beauty directly and boldly said to Zhang Tai. After receiving the same invitation from the two beauties, Zhang Tai felt as if his popularity was skyrocketing. "Sorry, I have already promised Alice to be her playmate tonight." Hearing Zhang Tai's explanation, Alice made a sweet smile and directly kissed Zhang Tai before glaring at Beverly. The smile on Beverly's face remained unchanged. "Would you mind changing your playmate by choosing me?" After a stealthy glance at this blonde girl's breasts and Alice, who was looking at him with a sweet smile, Zhang Tai replied, I do mind. Do you mind having one more playmate?" Beverly proudly stood straight, causing her frame to be even more pronounced. "I think that as a gentleman, you should not refuse the invitation from a beauty like me for consecutive 3 times at a party." "Then, fine." Zhang Tai had long been extremely excited inside. Who would refuse the invitation from a beauty like Beverly if there was nothing wrong with his mind? They were just playmates at a night party, the more the better. When Beverly walked beside Zhang Tai and hugged his other arm, putting it between her breasts, Zhang Tai really felt a bit dazzled while his D*ck greatly expanded and became erect. Happiness arrives so fast that this father has not even been circumcised yet. Zhang Tai sighed inwardly when he was glued by their breasts at the same time. Zhang Tai immediately felt something was wrong between Alice and Beverly, as there was a sense of animosity on them, like what other female animals would do in front of their enemies. Do you two know each other?" Zhang Tai asked them out of curiosity. Of course, before Alice opened her mouth, Beverly had already spoken. "Alice is a member of the Rose Association, while I am a member of the Lilac Association. We usually make exchanges with each other." After recovering her composure, Alice raised her chin and proudly said, "Men fight to conquer the world, while we women fight to conquer men. Since this man is my target, Beverly, I will never lose this fight." "Alice, I have never doubted my charm," Beverly also defiantly said before hugging Zhang Tai's arm even more tightly. "I also won't let this man go in front of me. Just wait for that." "Fine, I hope you won't cry." After fiercely glaring at each other, the girls both harumphed and turned their heads away. "What the f***ck? What Rose Association and Lilac Association?" Zhang Tai became really confused about what the two girls had talked about. Relationships between girls were much more complex than that between boys. Zhang Tai was not interested in interfering with the conflict between these girls. "Stop, you two," Zhang Tai couldn't stand it anymore as he glanced at Alice and Beverly. "I'm really flattered by your adoration, but now that we are playmates for tonight's party, we should just be happy. There's no need to destroy the happy atmosphere. Of course, we will definitely make you happy. Alice and I are not only your best playmates but also your best partners, aren't we, Alice?" "Of course," Alice replied quickly as she returned a smile to Beverly. "This man belongs to us. We won't let any more in, agreed?" "Yes." The bold behaviors of these two girls almost made Zhang Tai pass out, but he had to admit that he really enjoyed being hugged by the two beauties with huge breasts. It felt cool both psychologically and physiologically. Seeing the envious eyes of the other male animals, Zhang Tai felt an extremely sweet sensation inside. "It's pretty cool, and it's exciting. In the past, I thought that I would be very happy as long as I was surrounded by beauties, but it was only today when I am tightly hugged by two hot girls with huge breasts did I realize this was true. Yeah, ha ha ha. Well, I have to admit that I am just a secular man who likes beauties and big boobs. The more beauties around me, the happier I will be and the more sense of achievement I will have," Zhang Tai said to himself in his heart. Feeling as if he was being watched by a pair of eyes, Zhang Tai realized it was Miss Chili who was solemnly staring at him. In the past, Zhang Tai had felt that Miss Chili looked at him as if she were looking at a big, drooling toad. However, now that her opinion of Zhang Tai had improved, Miss Chili looked at him as if she were looking at a wolf disguised in human skin who would walk straight on the ground. Her eyes were teeming with alert and warning. Thinking of the strange punishment that woman had given him, Zhang Tai became pretty infuriated inside. "You don't want any girls to stay with this father alone for 3 minutes. Heh, as you can see, I have 2 girls with me right now. Your mother **king punishment doesn't work on me anymore." Facing Miss Chili's stare, under the slight cry of Alice and Beverly, Zhang Tai pulled his arms away from the 2 girls' breasts before directly hugging their slim waists and kissing the 2 girls' faces right in front of Miss Chili. Then, he pointed at his own face, letting the 2 girls kiss him before finally grinning towards Miss Chili, exposing 2 rows of white teeth. Zhang Tai felt really refreshed at the sight of Miss Chili being really infuriated as her willow leaf-like eyes raising upwards. In the distance, Hista and Barley encountered each other. When they thought that Zhang Tai was still a virgin and had no experience in seducing girls, their repulsive attitudes drove them to look for Zhang Tai. They wanted to see how Zhang Tai would lose face in front girls. Out of expectation, they caught sight of Zhang Tai ferociously hugging and kissing two beauties with huge breasts, causing their eyes to almost pop out of their sockets. And it even went further, he even let the two beauties kiss him back and the two beauties just did as he told them to. Hista and Fatty Barley, who had thought they had rich experiences in seducing girls, were really shocked by what they saw. They became mouth agape. Beast! Hista shouted. Could he have been born with seducing skills? My God, he even let two girls kiss him at the same time. It's two girls, not one. He has two girls accompanying him at once. God! Are you kidding me? Am I dreaming? Could digging in the mines really help people seduce girls? F***ck. Beast! Fatty Barley also cursed loudly. However, Zhang Tai instantly became much greater in his mind. In such a short period, a guy who had not yet even been circumcised was able to successfully seduce two beauties at the same time. Which other drooling guy was capable of this? Is digging in the mines really a super mysterious knowledge? At this moment, even Barley, who had heard of those rumors, started to feel his mind waver. At the same time, it was not only Hista and Barley who were loudly cursing Zhang Tai but Miss Chili and Mr. Zaram as well. But each of them was in a different mood when cursing him. Christine and Pandora were also cursing him. Zhang Tai never knew that his move was seen by so many people at the same time. After cursing Zhang Tai, Christine and Pandora, who were far from each other in the crowd, made the same movement, lowering their heads. They looked at their own breasts and both felt infuriated and unconvinced. Bastard, they added one more word at the same time. Chapter 107, Secret Exposed. At dawn, a cavalry squad who all wore light uniforms covered by a black cloak arrived at Wild Wolf Castle. The sudden arrival of the clattering hoofs broke the tranquility at dawn and surprised a flock of birds, causing them fly away. The overnight howls and curses of Samira, who had already been put behind the bars of an underground cell in the Wild Wolf Castle, would soon become desperate weeps. While dreaming, Zhang Tai slept very well last night and even had a foolish smile on his face. As for the bonfire party last night, it made Zhang Tai very happy. In that night party, he had hugged two beauties with huge breasts and walked here and there to show off. He had even kissed and touched the two beauties at his will and let them fight for his favor. What he had done had truly stimulated the other animals, causing their eyes to turn green, and had even caused Miss Chili's eyes to turn red. To do such a deed in such a manner, in truth, it was Mother Fastorus King Cool. Zhang Tai thought that he had never been so cool since he was born. Through last night's party, Zhang Tai was able to understand three things, or rather, three truths. The first truth was that beauty was the source of happiness. The second truth was that the main driving force behind a man's will to improve his strength and abilities was to possess more sources of happiness. Zhang Tai remembered that a teacher once said that before the catastrophe, a famous human psychologist attributed the basic driving force of human society to human sexual impulses. At that time, Zhang Tai couldn't understand what that meant, but after what happened last night, he finally realized that it was truly a damn wise opinion. Over a single night, Zhang Tai felt that he started to desire more in his future. He had more opinions and more desires than before, and although Zhang Tai also felt that he longed for the future even more than before, after what happened last night, he realized that he could long for it even more. For example, he realized that iron body fruit might accelerate its speed to become ripe. As for the third truth, Zhang Tai realized that he was still a commoner and a mortal. While the castle of black iron and that small tree had neither made him greater, more honorable, nor more tasteful, he had not been able to live without being vulgar. When a beauty showed him her adoration, he would always feel excited inwardly as he hugged her waist. At that moment, both his vanity and his naughty d*ck would expand a lot from the excitement. All these showed that he was still as vulgar as before. As usual, Zhang Tai's biological clock woke him up at a bit past 6 a.m. Waking up, Zhang Tai felt highly spirited and full of vitality. After putting on that set of mining clothes, Zhang Tai slipped out of the tree hollow. For the second half of last night, it was Doug's turn to be on duty. Doug was currently hugging the machine bough as he squatted in the small pit of the tree with eyes half closed. Seeing Zhang Tai getting up so early, Doug, who had been familiar with Zhang Tai's style, grinned and passed his machine bough to Zhang Tai before yawning and returning to his hole to sleep. Zhang Tai then hugged that machine bough and squatted in the tree pit to start his first homework, visualizing an abacus and practicing mental arithmetic using the abacus. Aside from improving the prowess of one's mental calculations, it could also improve one's spiritual energy. Currently, this secret was only known by Zhang Tai. If Donder had not told him to not casually impart how to use an abacus to others, Zhang Tai would have long been practicing it together with the other guys of the Hitplane Brotherhood. After Zhang Tai practiced for more than an hour, Barley also got up, followed by the other guys. Seeing all the other members having gotten up, Zhang Tai ended his cultivation. After simply cleaning himself, he casually gnawed on a small piece of dried meat before carrying his mining basket and starting a new day of work. On the way to his mining cave, Zhang Tai was highly spirited, as another leakless fruit would be ripe today. After eating this fruit, the burning point on his rear end would be ignited and he himself would also be officially promoted to a LV2 warrior. After that, he would definitely be an elite among all the students attending this survival training. Starting from the burning point on one's rear end, each additional ignited burning point would obviously help improve one's physical qualities, especially strength. According to Captain Curlin, this was because strength of blood, strength of channel, strength of vein, strength of bone, and strength of marrow were gradually activated in addition to the strength of qi. Zhang Tai estimated that after the ignition of the shrine burning point, his strength was only a bit lower than Glaze's. This trivial difference laid in Glaze's physique, but if he truly fought with Glaze, then Zhang Tai felt that he would not necessarily be defeated by Glaze. Although Glaze held the advantage in strength, he could not match Zhang Tai's speed and battle experience. Zhang Tai refused to believe that Glaze would also have a trouble reappearance fruit to eat, in which he could experience life and death situations 7 to 8 times in that mysterious space. Additionally, based on the speed that the leakless fruit would help him ignite his burning points, Zhang Tai estimated that he could ignite 2 more burning points before the end of the survival training. No matter what, with his recent cultivation speed, Zhang Tai felt that he would soon catch up with Glaze. Glaze would not be ahead of him for much longer. Within a short period, he would completely surpass Glaze in all aspects. What would a man whose strength is gradually increasing obtain? Heh. Of course, more and more sources of happiness. Thinking of those 2 enchanting vixens, Alice and Beverly, and their huge boobs, Zhang Tai grinned. Last night, he couldn't help but do many terrible and disgusting things to those 2 girls in his mind. After what had happened last night, Zhang Tai found that he actually had a strong sense of possessiveness when it came to women, especially beautiful women. Although his desire had not reached levels of insanity, it was still pretty strong. If he spoke out his desires, he would definitely be constantly cursed at by those apologists and hypocrites both in writing and verbally. Zhang Tai felt that his ideal life was to lay on a bed covered in money as he was surrounded by many beautiful virgins and young married women that had already drawn close to him last night. Come on! Zhang Tai encouraged himself as he picked up the pace. However, before he had reached the mining cave, Zhang Tai was intercepted by an on-duty student who was attending the survival training. As the officials of Black Hot City's Ministry of Internal Affairs had already arrived at Wild Wolf Castle this morning, they asked Zhang Tai to go there to cooperate with their investigation since, after all, Zhang Tai was the person who was directly related to that incident. You're saying that you felt someone drop something inside your mining basket, which was when Jagla had silently thrown that purse into your mining basket? Within a dark room, Zhang Tai was cooperating with the investigation of some guys in black cloaks. As the investigation proceeded, several strange guys were standing in the corridor outside the room, allowing no one to move close by or gossip. Compared to how the Temporary Supervision Committee interrogated Zhang Tai yesterday, these guys from Black Hot City's Ministry of Internal Affairs were more meticulous. Yes, my senses are quite sharp, so I noticed it when he threw it into my mining basket, especially because my mining basket was empty. They might not think that I could notice that, but I was able to. Where's your mining basket? Did you bring it? Yes, it's outside in the corridor. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, they asked Zhang Tai to bring in his mining basket. One of them then waited on his hand as he showed his suspicion towards Zhang Tai. Was there a mining hoe and a torch inside the mining basket when you were in the square yesterday? Yes. With these items inside along with the weight of the mining basket, in total, they would weigh up to more than 10 kilograms. You were able to sense it when someone silently put the purse inside? The interrogators felt amazed as they fixed their eyes on Zhang Tai's expression. Yes. Zhang Tai calmly replied. Where's that purse then? When I was escaping to the mining cave, in order to avoid being framed by them, I had thrown it away. Later on, I had returned to search for it, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it. Zhang Tai told a reasonable lie. At that time, not only was it pitch black inside that mining cave, but there were also many people who had rushed into it. Zhang Tai doesn't believe that these guys would investigate each and every student in an attempt to find out who had picked up the purse. Unless they were an idiot, if someone picked up the purse, no one would hand it in. If it were Zhang Tai, he would never hand it in either. Thus, it would be next to impossible to find that purse. After interrogating Zhang Tai about the details, they drew close to each other and whispered amongst themselves before one of them said to Zhang Tai, "What you have told us is almost consistent with what we have learned about yesterday's event, but I have another question. How did you ascertain that they were trying to set you up the moment you heard someone loudly shout that his purse was gone and urged others to capture the thief? If someone throws something into your mining basket when passing by you before loudly shouting that his item is gone, then that's definitely a trap. In such an event, unless one was an idiot, who would stay to be framed?" Zhang Tai stared at the interrogators with eyes wide opened, making them a bit embarrassed. "Well, take you mining basket. You may leave now." Carrying his mining basket once again, one guy accompanied Zhang Tai to the door. The moment they arrived at the door, Zhang Tai suddenly turned his head and looked at that interrogator. "I feel that there is something new in my mining basket." Stopping his footsteps, Zhang Tai put down his mining basket and opened its cover. Unknowing when a purse had been placed inside, Zhang Tai took out the purse and handed it to the guy who was pretending to accompany him to the door. "Can I leave now?" That guy looked back to the other interrogators while they slightly nodded. "We just wanted to test your senses. You didn't tell a lie. You may leave now." Zhang Tai carried his mining basket once again and left the room. After Zhang Tai left, the interrogators closed the door and whispered to each other once again. "Is there any problems with this brat named Zhang Tai?" "No problem. Last night, we investigated his records. His family background is clean. His father and mother are average people, and he has 2 elder brothers, one who had died for Black Hot City and the other is still serving in the City Guard Army of Black Hot City. He is 15 years old and has not left Black Hot City since he was born." Then, Samir is going to have some bad luck. No one asked him to set up an average student in such a despicable manner. For such a huge problem, we, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, are not here to clean his butt. We all know that Samira might not be a mole of the Norman Empire. That isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is the fact that at least 1 to 2,000 people here believe that Samira is a mole of the Norman Empire. After they return to Black Hot City, they will definitely spread this news everywhere, consequently causing more and more people to believe that Samira is a mole of the Norman Empire. Samira is really an idiot. He can't even deal with a normal student. I am really confused as to how such an idiot could gain the favor of Master Abayan. This student named Zhang Tai is too cunning. Chinese guys are always cunning. Report the truth to the superiors. Let the big figures decide Samira's fate. We have done what we should do. That's for the best. We still don't know whether Black Hot City and the Andaman Alliance will be included in the new map of Norman Empire. We'd better not work too hard during this period." One guy heaved a deep sigh. Zhang Tai didn't care about what had happened in the room after he left. For him, the result had already made him happy. Samira wanted to destroy his reputation and his bright future by framing him, but instead, it was his reputation that had been irreparably damaged. He did not care about Samira's life or death. Even if Samira was punished with death, Zhang Tai would not feel any guilt towards him, as he thought that Samira deserved it. After walking around Wild Wolf Castle for a while, Zhang Tai descended the mountain and arrived at that mining cave where he used to work. Surprisingly, compared to the usual calm scene, at this moment, the mouth of the mining cave was brimming with at least 50 to 60 people despite it being early in the morning. They all carried their mining baskets and gathered at the mouth of the mining cave. At the sight of the boisterous scene, Zhang Tai was greatly shocked. Why did so many people come here to mine today? At the sight of Zhang Tai, that group of noisy people immediately became quiet. After exchanging glances, they then fixed their eyes onto Zhang Tai's face, causing Zhang Tai's heart to pound. Are they Alice and Beverly's pursuers? Are they blocking the entrance to beat me up? No, it doesn't seem that way. Even though they are here to beat me up, they don't have to be miners. Do they want to enter the mining cave together with me before beating me up? Zhang Tai racked his mind. Unexpectedly, a person whom he was acquainted with suddenly pushed out from that group of people. Since the others are reluctant to say it, I will say it, as he said this, Wood walked towards Zhang Tai. Generously patting Zhang Tai on the shoulder, Wood said, "Brother, we all know about your secret." Hearing Wood's words, Zhang Tai's expression immediately changed, as he mistook that his castle of black iron had been exposed to the public. My secret? What secret? Zhang Tai pretended to be calm. Ha ha ha, brother, no need to continue pretending, Wood burst out into laughter. We all already know that digging in the mines is a great cultivation method and a mysterious knowledge among the Chinese in the East, right? Seeing Zhang Tai's eyes immediately widened, Wood felt happy inwardly, yet he pretended to be solemn. We are all here to follow you. Do you agree with it? We all know that mysterious knowledge and cultivation methods are very precious, so no one would give up an opportunity to learn it. Since we are classmates, if you feel reluctant to teach us, you can just say something to enlighten us. If you can do that, then we will appreciate it a lot. Seeing the horny student's eyes filled with desire, Zhang Tai immediately thought about hundreds of ideas. Chapter 108, Barbarian Lifestyle in the Mining Cave. Zhang Tai remembered a story that Donder had told him when he was still working in the grocery store. The protagonists of that story were a group of barbarians who had been living in a cave ever since they were born. One day, the group of barbarians found a new area in the cave, one where there was a huge human shadow shaking on the wall. The human shadow was so big that those barbarians had even taken it as a god and deity. Every year and every day, all of them would kowtow in front of that shadow as every one of them showed their respect to that huge shaking human shadow. Many years later, a young barbarian also noticed that huge shaking shadow on the wall. However, unlike the others, who worshipped the shadow in awe, this young barbarian was smart. At the sight of that shadow, he wanted to figure out how the shadow was formed in order to explain it to the others. Later on, after many difficulties, that young barbarian became the first person to leave the cave. Leaving the cave, he realized how the deity was formed. A bunch of rays shone upon a stone by the entrance of the cave, causing the shadow of that stone to be projected on the wall of the cave in the shape of a human figure. Because of the movement of the sun, the human-like shadow also became longer. Having found the reason, the young barbarian excitedly returned to the cave and told the other barbarians what he had seen outside. However, rather than being shocked, those barbarians were infuriated. Tying up that young barbarian, for the reason of blasphemy, they had killed that young barbarian right in front of the deity and continued to happily kowtow in front of that human-like shadow. There were two truths within this story that Donder had wanted to impart unto Zhang Tai. The first, when everyone else believed in one thing, even if it was wrong, you should not reveal the truth and you should not put yourself in the opposition of these people, as they all took it as the truth. This was a rule of survival in human society. The second, truth was mastered by only a few people. For most people, they wouldn't know what the truth really was and instead only believed in the illusions created by their emotions, thus emotions were more important than the truth. It was truly out of Zhang Tai's expectation that his casual joke could impact them in such a grand way. Mining, a mysterious cultivation method? F***ck. That went too far. Seeing the desire in their eyes, Zhang Tai realized that if he told the truth, he would quickly be buried in their saliva and condemnation, turning into the enemy of 50 to 60 people. Should I tell the truth? Of course not, this father is not an idiot. It seems that I have to use my killing move. 3, 2, 1. I got it. Barbarian lifestyle in the mining cave. Within only a second, trains of thoughts had already flashed past Zhang Tai's mind. Under the looks of amazements of all the horny students, Zhang Tai's expression changed from one of shock and amazement into an expression of endless solemnity. Zhang Tai looked very serious at this moment. I really cannot imagine that my secret has actually been discovered. Ugh! Zhang Tai helplessly heaved a deep sigh. Hearing Zhang Tai's sigh, everyone became excited. It was truly a secret. Earlier, many of the animals only wanted to give it a try. They did not imagine that they could have obtained such a great fortune. It's truly a mysterious knowledge? Wood became extremely excited as he rubbed his hands and asked. It's not convenient to talk about that here. Let's enter the mining cave. Pretending to be cautious, Zhang Tai turned his head left and right before turning his gaze towards those animals. From now on, please don't act on your own. Keep quiet and follow my orders. Those who can't follow this, please leave. As for those who will listen to me, follow me in. As he said this, Zhang Tai had already taken out the torch from his mining basket and had already ignited it. Waving his hand towards Wood, he whispered to him. After a while, when we enter the mining cave, you should stay at the back. Remember not to ignite your torch. After we have entered roughly 100 m, you should just lurk at the end of the team for 5 minutes to check whether someone is silently following us. We will wait for you at the front of the tunnel. Zhang Tai told Wood in a low voice. But I have no watch, how could I tell how much time has passed in the dark? Wood restlessly scratched his head. Unexpectedly, that guy named Wood had really treated this thing seriously. Zhang Tai had no choice but to teach him how to calculate time. When you start lurking at the back, press down on your pulse and count to 300 before you leave. Fine. Wood's eyes shone. It was secret knowledge, the most mysterious and powerful Oriental secret knowledge. At this moment, not only Wood but also all the other animals' heart had started to heavily pound. Wood then silently stood to the side and stared at Zhang Tai, who had ignited his torch. At this moment, Zhang Tai carefully glanced over the thirsty faces of the 50 to 60 animals. Zhang Tai noticed several familiar faces among the animals. They were the unlucky fellows who had been digging in the mines with him over the past few days. They were the truly unlucky fellows who had moderate strength and were not able to capture any prey. Adding on the fact that they were introverted and had few friends, they had no choice but to dig in the mines in order to survive. When Zhang Tai glanced over those unlucky fellows who had always been digging in the mines here, they all tried their best to raise their chests. Even Zhang Tai himself had not realized that he was already the pride and idol of all the miners here. Besides Zhang Tai's amazing display of intelligence and fighting prowess yesterday, even just what he had done last night, hugging two beauties with huge boobs and swaggering in public, had already made those guys sincerely respect him. Brothers who have always been mining here, please move forward. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, those guys restlessly walked out of the crowd. They exchanged glances, fearing that they would be driven out of the crowd by Zhang Tai. For these guys, over the more than 10 years, they have already gotten used to being unlucky and ignored by others, both at school and anywhere else, thus when Zhang Tai had called them out, they all looked pretty nervous. Some of the more pessimistic guys among them had even instantly become visibly depressed as they furrowed their eyebrows. We want to follow you in," a guy plucked his courage and shouted to Zhang Tai with a red face. Of course, when that holy gate is opened, nobody would be left alone. Thinking of the barbarian lifestyle in the mining cave, Zhang Tai forced an easygoing and warm smile, one that would be seen on those damn lecherous priests when they stood in front of their followers. "Since you are more familiar with the terrain of the tunnel than the others, I want you to walk ahead with your torches to light the path ahead as our guides in case your fellow brothers enter the wrong path. Can you complete this mission?" "Yes, of course, we can." Those guys, who were just slouching, stuck out their chests excitedly. "Then, you can go now. Use your torch to light up the path for your fellow brothers." Zhang Tai's thought became increasingly clearer at this moment. He had been able to cleverly apply the barbarian lifestyle in the mining cave, and his words were gradually becoming mysterious as well. When you begin to light up the path filled with darkness for others and not yourself, your future path will also be brightened. Hearing his enlightenment, the highly spirited, unlucky guys immediately became solemn. One of them even blushed, expressed that he wanted to follow Zhang Tai, and had even bowed in front of Zhang Tai. Afterwards, raising their chests and heads, they entered the pitch-black cave with their burning torches in hand. "Everyone, let's follow." Following those unlucky guys, Zhang Tai shouted to the other people behind him. Some of them had torches in hand, while the others didn't. Although there were only a bit more than 30 people among the group that had torches, it was already enough for them to march onwards. After having received militarized education and training for several years, it had caused them to have high discipline. Nobody talked and nobody wanted to be left alone. All of them just calmly followed Zhang Tai, assuming a great responsibility, would slowly move to the end of the team, as Zhang Tai had ordered him to do so. For those animals who followed Zhang Tai, this was their first time to enter a mining cave. The circular marks left by the gold-eating boas on the walls were seen every once in a while in the darkness. Everyone seemed to be walking in an endless tunnel that had a sense of mysteriousness and solemnity. Nobody talked. In the entire mining cave, the only sounds that could be heard were the sound of footsteps and the occasional zila sound that came from the torches every now and then. Zhang Tai's walking speed remained unchanged, and so did his followers. Walking in the tunnel, although Zhang Tai looked calm, he was quickly racking his mind as all the stories and events concerning liars told by Donder flashed across his mind. Since the moment they had entered this mining cave, Zhang Tai was using this time to work out a good plan. Thankfully, roughly 300 m away from the mouth of the mining cave, an audacious idea that was very suitable for the current situation came to mind. Then, Zhang Tai gradually started to work out a plan with a bit of mischief and playfulness. No matter what, even if they found out that this had been a ruse after the survival training, this would not have harmed them in any way. They can just consider it as playing the mouse meeting. 1. Zhang Tai then started to think about the next step. Although he laughed loudly inwardly to the point that it caused his intestines to be twisted, his expression became increasingly serious. "Stop!" Zhang Tai's voice reverberated far in the cave as he stopped his footsteps. All the others also stopped, not knowing what Zhang Tai's intentions were. Zhang Tai didn't give an explanation. He only remained silent. Since Zhang Tai had told them to stay silent, everyone else also kept silent, fearing that they would lose this opportunity to learn about mysterious knowledge the moment they opened their mouth. In such a weird silence, the atmosphere in the pitch-black mining cave became increasingly mysterious and serious. 5 minutes later, when Zhang Tai had thought over his plan again and improved some of its details, Wood's footsteps became gradually clearer as he caught up with them with a torch in hand. "Nobody has followed us. Although Wood didn't specifically raise his voice, his words could still be clearly heard by all the others in the tunnel. Seeing Zhang Tai treating this thing so seriously, everybody gradually confirmed that the mysterious knowledge about mining that they were about to learn was true. This method was usually used by liars to control people's mind. No matter how absurd and no matter how much of a sham the thing was, as long as you treated it seriously, carefully, and faithfully, that thing would gradually become true and important in eyes of others. As Donder had once said, for most normal people, one's thoughts and attitude towards something was not determined by one's own judgment and observations, but rather, it was based on the attitude and judgment of others that could be seen with the eyes. Therefore, in public, even if there was nothing in the sky, as long as you raised your head and stared at the sky, you will soon have more and more people that would stare at the sky together with you. Even if there was nothing in the sky, they would continue to try their best to find something in the sky, trying to convince themselves. If they couldn't see anything, instead of others, they would first doubt themselves. Thus, a liar, if he could even cheat himself, had already succeeded half of the way. Chapter 109, Big Blessing Skill. When Zhang Tai took everybody out of that long tunnel and arrived at the spacious underground mining field, he knew that all his followers had already confirmed that he wanted to share that great secret with them. This was able to be seen from the look of desire in their eyes and their attitudes towards him. Of course, what he wanted to share with them was a great, great mysterious knowledge. He. In the dark mining field, there were only 2 burning torches with flickering flames. The dim sound of mining hose knocking at a mining bed reverberated in the space. Among his fellow miners, some of them believed that Zhang Tai had a great, hidden cultivation secret related to mining, while the others didn't believe that as they continued working hard in their usual place. As for these guys who continued to work hard inside, Zhang Tai had to say sorry to them now that it has become a great and outstanding mysterious knowledge. People who were not related would never be allowed to eavesdrop, otherwise, it would not be qualified to be called mysterious knowledge. Arriving at the mining field, everybody, including those miners that had walked ahead, cast their eyes filled with desire onto Zhang Tai. At this moment, Zhang Tai's face showed a significantly serious expression. All brothers with food, please move 1 step forward. Hearing Zhang Tai's instruction, over 30 people immediately moved out of the group and 1 step forward. Although nobody knew what Zhang Tai's next instruction would be, nobody asked. If I want you to offer half of your food, would you be willing? I will. After exchanging glances, everybody then loudly shouted in unison. Does Zhang Tai want to take food as tuition? Some of the animals started to be suspicious. Facing the slightly suspicious looks, Zhang Tai sneered inwardly, this father doesn't even feel reluctant to gift dozens of dried meat to Pandora, so who cares about your dried rations? If you could learn this great mysterious knowledge in exchange for just a bit of dried rations, then mysterious knowledge would be worthless. At this moment, hearing their footsteps and seeing the flames, the guys who were just mining here also walked towards them out of curiosity. Waving his hand, Zhang Tai called over the miner who had just been in awe at Zhang Tai and had guided them in the tunnel. What's your name? I am Potter, that guy replied slightly tensed. Okay, Potter, I have a mission for you. Bring some brothers with you and distribute half of the donated rations to the students who have been mining here. Tell them that we will be using the mines for a day and that the dried rations will be their compensation. Zhang Tai slightly raised his voice that was full of emotions, allowing all the other animals to hear it. This is God's will. Since they did not wait for me outside the cave like you all had, they have lost their chance to participate in our next course of action. Just have them leave for a day. Such a simple sentence caused 2 effects. Those who thought Zhang Tai was going to take their food as tuition felt embarrassed, while all the others, especially the miners who had been guiding them, immediately became highly spirited. What if, there's someone that doesn't want to leave? The moment Potter opened his mouth, from his pessimism and the way he thought about a poor outcome, Zhang Tai realized that Potter must have been frequently bullied by others. Don't feel like leaving? Zhang Tai smiled and turned to face Wood. Wood then patted his chest. Trust me, they will leave after taking the food. After making that promise, Wood directly spoke to the crowd, which brothers would like to go with me to persuade those guys to leave. Immediately, 5 or 6 tough guys with robust shoulders and thick waists walked out of the crowd. A few minutes later, several miners left the mining cave with more food than they could have earned by mining. Some of them were happy since they were able to obtain a large amount of food without doing any work, while others felt reluctant to leave since they wanted to stay and join them. Of course, it was impossible to join them at this moment. After Wood and the other tough guys persuaded these guys to leave, those who had followed Zhang Tai all felt that this was a precious chance. Zhang Tai let them compare themselves to the others, allowing a sense of excellence and identity to come out. When Potter and Wood used their food and fist to clear out the mining field, Zhang Tai let the miners who were acting as guides take these animals to search the areas where people could easily hide, ensuring that there was nobody hiding here. At this time, the more serious and cautious Zhang Tai was, the happier and more excited the animals were and the harder they worked. 10 minutes later, the entire mining field was cleared. Everybody then gathered in front of Zhang Tai with their eyes full of desire fixed on Zhang Tai. Zhang Tai pointed at the mouth of the cave in the distance and glanced at those animals in a profound way. After a while, when the inheritance ceremony begins, it cannot be disturbed by anyone, thus 4 of you have to defend that area over there and prevent others from coming in. Unfortunately, those 4 people would not be able to attend the inheritance ceremony, and since the inheritance ceremony will not be held for a second time during this survival training, it would be unfair for whoever has been arranged to defend that area. Thus, the people who defend that area must do so voluntarily. The 4 people will need to sacrifice their own chance for others. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, everybody's face turned pale. Everybody looked at the entrance of the mining cave and then looked at Zhang Tai, who showed the traces of a mysterious smile on his face. As they all did not want to miss the chance presented at this moment, they all became worried. Then, will the 4 people who come out have another chance to accept the same inheritance ceremony? Someone among the silent crowd plucked up his courage and asked. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. That is the meaning of sacrifice. Zhang Tai swept a glance over all the animals. Hearing Zhang Tai's reply, everybody felt a holy and solemn feeling filling this quiet mining field. What if nobody wants to defend the entrance? If you cannot find 4 people among you who would voluntarily sacrifice their own chance, then all I have to say is that you are a group of selfish people. Such a group of selfish people is not qualified to accept the inheritance of such a great oriental mysterious knowledge like the Big Blessing Skill. Zhang Tai coldly said. Big Blessing Skill. Hearing these words, all the animals were shocked. Judging from its name, it was a highly valuable mysterious knowledge. The name of the mysterious knowledge coming out of Zhang Tai's mouth made everybody's heart pound. At this time, someone suddenly thought about something and exclaimed, last time when you were chased by the wild wolves and had chosen to jump into a 200 m deep hole in order to survive, you were able to be as lively as normal several days later. Is that the effect of the Big Blessing Skill? Although Zhang Tai had long burst into laughter in his heart, he kept silent. All of a sudden, everybody felt that it was hard to breathe. With Zhang Tai, a living person who had benefited from the Big Blessing Skill, in front of them, nobody doubted the mysterious knowledge anymore. This moment was a true test of the human heart. People would have to sacrifice their chance to learn the Big Blessing Skill in order to defend the entrance. These people could perhaps lose the chance to learn the Big Blessing Skill for the rest of their lives. It was the Big Blessing Skill, a mysterious knowledge that enabled a guy to jump into a 200 m deep pitch black hole in order to survive. It might even have other effects. Who would want to give up on this chance? Every person had a different expression on their face as they all struggled within their hearts. They had realized that if nobody sacrifices their own opportunity, then they would all lose this chance. However, if someone decides to sacrifice their own opportunity, then it meant that they wouldn't have such an opportunity for the rest of their lives. I'm willing to make this sacrifice for everyone. Potter stood out. With his lips pressed together, the youth was nervous, however, his face looked quite holy while the bright flames from the torch were reflected in his eyes, moving Zhang Tai. Looking at that somewhat serious face of Potter and the firm confidence in his eyes, Zhang Tai suddenly realized that after starting off with the barbarian lifestyle in the mining cave, he had gone too far with his act. Zhang Tai silently swallowed his saliva. At this moment, he had no other choice but to continue with the act. He will seriously continue the act in order to not let those guys be disappointed. Potter, as a fire bearer, in this inheritance ceremony, you are not eligible to be a sacrifice for the others. Zhang Tai solemnly told Potter. Seeing Potter somewhat confused, Zhang Tai decided to make the act more convincing. Potter, do you think what had happened today was a coincidence? Zhang Tai put one hand onto that youth's thin shoulder. Do you think it was a coincidence for you and I to be gathered here today? Do you think it was a coincidence for me to survive after jumping into a 200 m deep hole? Do you think it was a coincidence for me to beat back the bodyguards of the Samira business group yesterday? Do you think it was a coincidence for me to reveal Samira's scheme in the office? Do you think it was a coincidence for me to let you fire bearers guide us? Do you think it was a coincidence that you are a fire bearer? No, these are all arranged by God and destiny. Fire bearer. Potter murmured the name filled with religiousness and mysteriousness as his eyes began to shine with a different kind of brilliance. Yes, fire bearer. It is also a part of today's holy inheritance ceremony. Everything that has happened today is arranged by God and destiny. Without the presence of you fire bearers among the crowd, then the conditions for today's holy inheritance ceremony would not be met. Zhang Tai looked more serious than before as he started to hum an aria like the ones from the church choirs. Those who walk in darkness, your face is covered in dirt, your footsteps are staggering, your hands are tainted with filth, and you walk in the dark and dirty land. Yet the light and flames within your heart will never die out. One day, the light and flames within your heart will become a torch within the darkness. The ferocious, burning torch will light up the path for your brothers, enabling them to see the troubles and difficulties on the road ahead. For the people who take the responsibility of sacrificing their own opportunity, the burning torches in your hands will be the best blessings in the world. This is the blessing from light, which lights up the road towards the ultimate holy gate. Hearing Zhang Tai's fabrications based on the religious books and the Bible that he had read, led by Potter, all the miners began to cry as tears began to drop down from their eyes. Since they were born, they had never thought that their humble bodies were holy and dignified. Chapter 110, Inheritance of Mysterious Knowledge. Zhang Tai's words did not only affect the group of guiding miners led by Potter but everyone else as well. At this moment, even if Zhang Tai told them that everything that was set up by him has been a lie, most likely, none of them would believe him. They could not imagine Zhang Tai fabricating this whole ordeal so perfectly. If he could fabricate things this well, then Zhang Tai was definitely a genius. Zhang Tai also suddenly realized that he truly had the talent to be a damn clergyman, as he almost believed in his own fabrications. At this moment, Wood, whose face had turned red from excitement, took in a deep breath before stepping out as the first person who would sacrifice his chance to see the big blessing skill. I am willing to sacrifice my chance. Another person then walked out from the crowd. I am willing to sacrifice my chance. Followed by a third person. I am willing to sacrifice my chance. And a fourth. I am willing to sacrifice my chance. Seeing the four faces that had the same serious expression as the one previously seen on Potter's face, Zhang Tai immediately thought back to Dondo's comment on young people simple, naive, blood-boiled, and impulsive. Seeing himself in these guys, Zhang Tai felt that he was obliged to see this performance through the end no matter what happens. All sacrifices have the most profound blessing and are the sturdiest of guardians. Those who sacrifice their own opportunity will be our guardians and the key to this holy gate. You are truly brave men. With your selflessness, you have shown your own worth as well as allowing the dreams of your brothers to come true. Hearing Zhang Tai's praise, everybody else extended their gratitude to the group of four headed by Wood with complex expressions. Zhang Tai was also solemnly looking at the four people. Before you become the strongest guardians, please loudly speak out your names in front of your brothers so that your brothers will remember all you have done for them. I, Heron Wood, moved one step forward with his chest raised as he loudly said out his full name. I, Jack Jones, the second person also raised his chest and his chin as he loudly spoke. I, Nadili Gandhi, the third person raised his chest and his chin as he shouted. I, son of a common gardener in Black Hot City, Francis Franca. The fourth person's introduction was a bit special, winning him a couple of glances from Zhang Tai. Are you brave men who have willingly sacrificed yourself, for you to sacrifice yourselves for the sake of your brothers, this is the most righteous of deeds. Zhang Tai continued to hum the aria of the church choir, your names will forever be engraved upon the holy arch door. When you treat your brothers as extensions of yourself, you will have already arrived at the level of true knowledge. Although time will stop, the seas will dry up, and the mountains will collapse, your name will never fade away. The sacrifices you have made for your brothers will bring you immortality. One day, when we all gather in the holy land of immortals, everything that you have done for your brothers will return to you. Your brothers will never leave you alone. You should know that the light is in your body, and everything that you have created will stay with you, just like how are one with holiness. Hearing Zhang Tai's aria, which was even more shocking than what the clergymen say, Wood, Jones, Gandhi, and Franca felt as if they were filled with a sense of sacredness. In response, they were all moved to the point where their eyes were turning red and the sides of their nose were expanding and shrinking. Finally, they could not help but burst out into tears. The four people felt as if their souls had ascended, and everything else they had done for the others was worth it. Seeing them crying again, Zhang Tai could only inwardly sigh at the prowess of words. Wood, Jones, Gandhi, and Franca, as the guardians for this holy inheritance ceremony, please loudly tell everybody that before you fall, you will not let anyone else disturb our upcoming holy inheritance ceremony, Zhang Tai told the four. By then, Zhang Tai felt that he could already control the way these people thought, which was also what all those liars and Motherf * king lecherous clergymen liked and pursued. We promise. Before we fall, nobody else is allowed to enter the cave. After sniffing in their mucus, they raised their fist and glued it to their chest before proudly and loudly swore. Zhang Tai turned around and glanced over the other animals with an unprecedented solemn look, intending to frighten them again. Before the sturdiest of guardians, who have sacrificed their own opportunity to see the big blessing skill, stand at the entrance, you will have one last chance to leave. Once the ceremony begins and after you swear on the oath and obtain the mysterious knowledge of the big blessing skill, you will be obliged to take responsibility for this mysterious knowledge. If you cannot do that, then you may have to pay the price with your life. Try to think about it again. Are you ready to obtain the mysterious knowledge? Everyone firmed their gazes and shook their head. Nobody left. At this moment, even if Zhang Tai used a stick to drive them away, they wouldn't leave. Since everyone has decided, then, Wood, Jones, Gandhi, Franca, the cave is in your hands now. When we begin the inheritance ceremony of the big blessing skill, please keep out anyone who want to pass the entrance. Zhang Tai told the 4 guys. Hearing Zhang Tai's instructions, they bowed in front of Zhang Tai. Afterwards, each of them held a torch and pulled out their short sword or dagger from their waists. They stood in a row facing the entrance with a resolute expression on their face, completely blocking the entrance. As for the others, follow me. Holding onto his torch, Zhang Tai walked towards a dark place in the mining field as everyone else silently followed him. After walking in this mining field for a bit less than 3 minutes, Zhang Tai had led all the others to a relatively hidden yet spacious area. Everyone, find a place to put your torch and then stand in front of me. Zhang Tai instructed. Hearing Zhang Tai's instruction, all the animals hurriedly found a place to put their torches. Since there were many rocks in the mining cave, they could either insert their torches into the walls or have them stand up by using the ground and the support of 2 rocks. After a few minutes when they had all put down their torches, they all came back in front of Zhang Tai. Under the illumination of the surrounding torchlight, in such a dark underground space, the expression of longing and seriousness on the faces of these animals looked more real than before. After experiencing the 2 incidents with Potter and Wood, everybody had been filled with a sacred feeling. At this moment, Zhang Tai's figure looked rather big and holy in the eyes of the other animals, especially Potter and the other miners, who had guided the other guys. Their eyes were already filled with true worship and admiration that was not restrained in the least. As long as Zhang Tai glanced over at them, Zhang Tai would feel his face hot. Zhang Tai then tried his best not to glance over them again. However, Zhang Tai's attitude at this moment made many people think that he was unconventional and mysterious. When the barbarian lifestyle in mining cave proceeded to this moment, Zhang Tai started to feel that everything had gone smoothly. The big blessing skill could be dated back to the far ancient age of 5,000 years before the catastrophe. It is a top mysterious knowledge within Chinese clan, and the lengths of which I had to go through to get this big blessing skill was extraordinary. As the person who will now pass this mysterious knowledge on to you, from now on, you can call me the Enlightener. Only the Enlightener is qualified to complete the inheritance of the big blessing skill. After naming Potter and the other torch holders as fire bearer and Wood and the other miners as sacrifices, in order to make this game and ceremony more holy and more mysterious like he had implied to them, Zhang Tai thought that he should also give himself a title. As the old Chinese saying goes, if you don't have an official title, you would not be accepted by the public. Therefore, Zhang Tai decided to make a title for himself. With this title, his words would have more weight. After thinking for a while, Zhang Tai finally decided on the title Enlightener for himself. Hearing Zhang Tai's introduction, all the other animals were shocked. None of them could have imagined that the big blessing skill had such a great background, and even Zhang Tai's title, Enlightener, also made many people feel respect. Now, please take out the daggers at your waists and cut your fingers before dripping your fresh blood into the stone pit in front of me to mix your blood with that of your brothers. This is the holy symbol of the beginning of the inheritance ceremony. When your blood has mixed with that of your brothers, it symbolizes that from then on, you will not feel alone even after vicissitudes and you will not depart from your brothers as the fresh blood in your blood vessels will be the one and the same. After saying that, Zhang Tai took out his own dagger, and gritting his teeth, he devoutly made a small cut on his left index finger before dripping a bit of blood into that stone pit. A dagger was a necessity for all the students attending the survival training used to protect themselves. Seeing Zhang Tai doing that, all the other animals became excited. After seeing Zhang Tai's demonstration, nobody hesitated as they all pulled out their daggers and made a cut on their fingers. Seeing how fiercely those animals cut their fingers, even Zhang Tai frowned. Mother ** curs, you'd better not cut off your finger and give me trouble in the future. All the animals then silently cut their fingers before standing in line in front of Zhang Tai to drip their blood into that stone pit by squeezing the finger with the cut. When you prepare to mix your fresh blood with that of your brothers, please let go of your soul. The fresh blood that you have dropped is you. At this critical, holy moment, when you stay together with your brothers, please let go of your hypocritical moods. You don't need to feel the need to be humble, as you are incomparable majestic in the eyes of your brothers. You don't have to pursue perfections, as all your brothers are your perfections. Just like a drop of water when converging into the ocean, it will never feel humble. Just like a drop of water when converging into the ocean, it will become perfect by having the true strength and finding its true identity. Your brothers will lift you up. Their strength is your strength, and their existence is your existence. From then on, we will be in unity and will never feel alone in this dangerous age. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, all the animals burst out into tears.